Greetings to all fans of good movies. In this video, I'm going to tell you about a classic comedy movie from 1931 called City Lights. At the beginning of the movie, dignitaries speak to the citizens. The crowd is gathered for the unveiling of a new monument with the symbolic title, Peace and Prosperity. After lengthy speeches to a standing ovation, the curtain is finally pulled down, and the main character of the movie appears in front of the crowd. The tramp was sleeping peacefully on the lap of one of the sculpted figures, but woke up as soon as he heard the crowd's unhappy cries. Finding himself in an awkward position, the man immediately tries to leave the monument. During this action, his torn pants accidentally get stuck, causing him to hang on the sculpture. After several ridiculous attempts, he still manages to leave the monument safely. Our character goes for a walk around the city. Soon he meets cheeky newsboys who ridicule his appearance and important gait. The tramp reprimands them and then continues on his way. While walking along the sidewalk, his attention is attracted by a nude sculpture standing in his store window. The man begins to scrutinize it from all sides and almost falls down the shaft of the freight elevator. After this incident, the tramp continues his wandering and accidentally meets a blind girl selling flowers. Hearing the sound coming from a car parked nearby, the girl mistakenly takes our character for a potential buyer and gives him one of her flowers. The man accidentally drops it on the ground, which causes the saleswoman to kneel down and grope the surface. Seeing this, our character finally realizes that the girl is blind. He helps her up and then pays for the flower, giving her his last money. The girl gives him his change. But at that moment, a car drives away, and the blind woman mistakenly believes that her flower was bought by a wealthy man who does not need money. Realizing this, our hero decides to leave quietly, so as not to spoil a pleasant impression of himself. In the next scene, the girl returns home, and we see that she is lonely and devotes all her free time to her favorite plants. At nightfall, the tramp comes to a secluded place and settles down on a bench. Just at this moment, a wealthy man who is under the influence of alcohol tries to settle the score with his life. Our character immediately approaches the stranger and saves his life with his persuasion. The men become best friends, and to celebrate, the millionaire invites the tramp to his mansion. From the dialogue with the butler, we learn that the millionaire's wife recently left him. On this occasion, he got very drunk and lost control. But now he has a new friend with whom he can have fun. The men quickly get drunk and then decide to go to a restaurant, having previously changed into expensive suits. Our characters spend the whole night in the entertainment institution. During this time, they behave wildly, interfering with the other visitors' rest. In the morning, the men safely return home, and as a thank you, the millionaire gives our character his car. At that moment, the tramp notices a beautiful flower girl who is en route to her street corner with two bouquets. After asking the millionaire for money, he catches up with the girl and buys all her flowers. Then he drives her home in his new car. When they part ways, our character confesses his love to the girl and arranges their next date. As the flower girl enters the house, she tells her grandmother about her kind and wealthy admirer. Meanwhile, the tramp returns to the millionaire's mansion, where the latter, now sober, does not remember him and asks the butler to send the stranger out the door as soon as possible. Later, the men run into each other again on the street. By this time, the millionaire has already managed to get drunk, and upon seeing the tramp, he immediately remembers him and invites him to his house for a lavish party. But the next morning, the story repeats itself. The millionaire is sober again, and the tramp is once again kicked out of the door. After picking up some food, our character decides to see the flower girl. Not finding the girl at her usual street corner, he goes to her apartment. Standing under the window, a man overhears the doctor's conversation, from which he learns that the girl is sick and needs careful care. Deciding to help the poor girl, the tramp takes a low-prestige job as a street cleaner. Without the help of a millionaire to play the role of a wealthy gentleman, it was not easy, but our hero tries his best. One day, he visits the girl and brings her fresh food. By that time, the grandmother had gone to sell flowers. The tramp also brings a newspaper that tells of a case of curing blindness by a famous Viennese doctor. "Wonderful, then I'll be able to see you," says the girl, and the tramp is struck by what may happen should she gain her sight, and discover that he is not the wealthy man she imagines. Later, he also finds an eviction notice that the grandmother had carefully hidden from her granddaughter. As he leaves, our character promises that first thing tomorrow, he will pay the rent arrears. When the tramp arrives at work, he learns from the boss about his dismissal due to constant tardiness. An unknown man who works as a boxer in the neighborhood club witnesses this conversation. He approaches our character and persuades him to participate in a fake fight. Regardless of the fight's outcome, they agree to split the winnings in half. This money should be just enough to pay the rent arrears for the flower girl. Before the fight, the fake fighter learns that the police are after him, and he has to flee. In his place, they substitute another boxer who refuses to enter into an agreement with a tramp and intends to fight for a genuine victory. Despite numerous tricks, our character is defeated and remains without a reward. In the evening, hoping to earn some money, the tramp wanders around the city. By chance, he encounters the drunken millionaire for the third time, who once again invites him to the mansion. Learning about his friend's difficult situation, the rich man, without hesitation, gives him a large sum of money, which should be enough for the girl's operation. At that moment, robbers are in the millionaire's house. Seeing the large sum of money, they stealthily attack the drunken rich man, beat him up, and take away all the remaining money. Our character miraculously manages to remain unharmed. He reports the incident to the police and then goes in pursuit of the robbers. On the street, he is detained by a police officer. When the officer enters the house, he finds that the millionaire has lost money and our hero has a large sum in his pocket. The millionaire regains consciousness but cannot remember anything of what he did while drunk, so all suspicions fall on the tramp. Finding himself in a desperate situation, our character snatches the money given to him from the policeman and runs away. The next morning, he goes to the flower girl to give her the cash and then hurriedly leaves. In farewell, the man informs her about his forced departure, but promises to visit her upon his return. On the street, the tramp is detained by detectives and taken to prison. In the next scene, we discover that the flower girl has regained her sight and now runs the flower store with her grandmother. She has not forgotten her mysterious benefactor. Whenever elegant young men enter the store, the girl always freezes for a moment in the hope of hearing a familiar voice. Half a year later, our character is released from prison. He immediately goes to the shopping street, but the girl is not in her usual spot. Disappointed, the man wanders around the city, and while picking up a wilted flower from the ground, coincidentally meets the gaze of his beloved. At the sight of her, he freezes for a few seconds and then breaks into a wide smile. He silently leaves, not wanting to disappoint the girl. However, the flower girl, astonished by his care for the plant, follows the tramp. She gives him a fresh flower and some change as support. In doing so, the girl has to take the man's hand. She recognizes the tramp as her benefactor, and her smile is replaced by a look of surprise. The girl runs her hand over his shoulder and clothes, then says the phrase, "You." The tramp nods and asks, "You can see now?" The girl replies, "Yes, I can see now," and presses his hand to her heart with a tearful smile. Relieved and elated, the tramp smiles back. Thank you all for watching until the end. Please share your opinions about this movie in the comments below.